PrimeTimeTV.
So let's go. Hi. Welcome to the first episode of the Primetime TV podcast.
Hey!
I'm Mr. Prime, Simon Odd, and I'm your host. And with me is the amazing Greg McNally, Mr. Primetime himself.
Hello.
And of course, joining us is Grumpy Stew.
Hello.
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 Hey,
Yeah.
Greg.
Hi,
Hello.
Greg.
Hello.
Hello.
Greg looking a little stunned there. So the idea of this show, as it were, is to give you a bit of information, have a bit of discussion. We're going to we have been opening up the channels, as it were, to you guys to come up with a few ideas for discussions. So this week's discussion is twofold. We have two discussions. One about comics, specifically the first few issues of the US and UK comic, as per the Definitive Collection Volume 1. And we're also going to be talking about non-transforming Transformers. Are they Transformers? Are they worth it? Who cares? So, sorry?
I
What?
care.
I'm glad you care. I care. I have
We care.
many. You care, Greg? Let's save it. Let's not spoil it now.
Spoiler.
Okay, so, yes. Podcast juice. Right, okay. So, it's news time. We're going over to Greg, who's going to give us some exciting information and news from the world of primetime toys and beyond. Greg.
Beyond. Thank you, Simon. Okay, so just a quick update on China and shipping. So Terry's fine, family are fine, got a new 6-week-old baby. Quite interesting for those that don't know that in their culture, the mother of a newborn child has to stay in bed for 30 days and be looked after. So I think Terry's quite pleased that those 30 days are now passed and his wife is up and the baby's keeping everybody up. But most importantly, with the coronavirus and everything, people are fine and healthy. The government have got shipping back open again, and essentially things are returning to normal. But it's going to take a bit of time, and these guys are working on reduced hours. So essentially that just means that, bear with us, but things will be coming to you. In terms of the factories, some of the big guys like Fans Toys have decided not to bother opening until March. So again, that's going to delay things. We were due a couple of characters like Sheridan was due out in February, so that's not going to happen. In addition, Road King, which was reissued and came out just before Chinese New Year, only half of those actually got shipped into the shops. So the other half were due to hit after Chinese New Year. So in a nutshell, what's going to happen is we're going to have a wee bit of a catch up. So Road King will have to fill, then they'll come on to Sheridan, Hunk, and other things that are coming. So it's just going to be the waiting game, I'm afraid. But, we're back. So that's the main thing, and let's be happy about that. In terms of kind of more general updates, we've had two big events, which I know many of you would have seen. The first one was a fortnight ago of Wonderfest or Wonder Festival. And at that, we got a couple of very big announcements. We got to find out what is MP50 and also what is MP51. So there was a lot of debate about who it could be. And MP50, this magical number, half a century, and a lot of speculation was going to be Raiden, the train combiner. But it was Tigatron from the which I don't know how everybody feels about that, and I think there'll be a lot of happy people. But you know, the Beast Wars wasn't really my scene, I'm afraid. What did you guys think about the reveal of 50?
Considering the MP25, that was the last big milestone one after MP10, was tracks, which
Quality
could
figure.
have been Megatron, could have
Love it.
been anybody, and it was tracks. Sorry,
Yeah.
your favorite character. I wasn't necessarily expecting them to do something amazing, but you know, Tigertron, he's a cool character, and he looks like a really, really nice toy. I love the fact it's not just a repaint of Cheetor, so that's quite cool. What about you, Stu?
I'm really pleased about Tigertron. You can tell they're really pivoting from the G1 stuff into Beast Wars, but I mean, it looks like a really good looking figure. So I've been getting all the Beast Wars stuff, so I was quite pleased. Um, I'm surprised we've not got more G1 stuff, but I think we might get more of that across this year. It's hard to say, but it's just a number. 50 is just a number to me, so it's more about the poverty it'll induce. It's more...
I'm quite glad China hasn't opened yet, so I don't have to pay for smokescreen.
Yeah.
He is going to be quite expensive. He's going to be in the ballpark that Dinobot was, which was just under £200, which I don't know. It felt like a lot to me, given it's an upscaled version of Cheetor, which I appreciate. It's not a repaint, but I don't think it's that difficult to make them a bit bigger. So I thought that could have been a bit cheaper, but we'll see. The next one, MP51. Anybody catch that?
No, there's been no controversy about that at all. We should just very quickly glaze over it.
Yeah. So RC is coming out, and mixed feelings about it. I initially thought this looks fantastic, and somebody on the staff have not transformed it correctly, and the chest just needs to be moved up. But when they do that, it's going to be great. And it's a character that we could actually be doing with. I think there's a few copies out there. You know, you've got Toy World and Zeta brought one out. You've got MMC. None of them quite ticked the box for me. I think one was too big and one was too small. And then you've got Fans Toys Rouge, which, in my opinion, is the best one available. But again, it's not great. It's not ideal. So I was happy to see a Takara one coming out. And then we got the horror picture for me, which was from the side, and it shows the paint lining up, which is an indication that the chest was actually in the right place. And that's when I started to worry about it. But we have got plenty of time, and it reminds me a wee bit of Hound when we saw the floating head. But that wasn't as bad when it actually came out, and the head doesn't.
Fine. Yeah, it was fine. It's fine.
Yeah, but it's time to fix it. But are you looking forward to it?
After you, Simon.
No. Yeah, I think it looks cool. I haven't got with Masterpiece. I sort of for G1 characters anyway. I've stuck almost exclusively to Karatami for my ones. So I haven't actually got any third-party replacements in my collection. So I'm quite happy to have a nice RC. Haha. Yeah, she's a nice-looking figure. I think the chest sag it's not a deal breaker, but you know, we had the same thing with Ham with the floating head syndrome. We had the same thing with Bumblebee with his clown feet. So I'm sure we'll either get used to it and accept it, or they'll maybe make an adjustment. But I imagine there's a very good reason why her boobs are sagging.
Well, they say that's part of the Asian aesthetic, and I think a lot of people forget in terms of, like, you know, the Takara releases. They're not specifically sort of geared to the West. They're geared to that Asian sort of market, and that's why the Beast War stuff's so prevalent. And I always sort of get a feeling our wants are sort of secondary to what they're bringing out as well, and Takara does what Takara thinks will sell. So I know they said for RC that it's still a prototype. Oh, it looks really finished, but they said, you know, it's not the final product, so maybe it will change as well. I don't know. I liked it.
Unicron. Like, Unicron was out. We had a full transforming version that they had, and you know, that's going to be another year in production. So there's plenty of time for them to kind of fix RC. Another thing I caught was the MP48, which is the other Beast Wars Leo convoy. That's been delayed. And it could be June before we see that in the UK. Although I have heard that it might be out in China or in the East around about March, April time. But it does make you wonder that if we're going to have a long gap between MP47 Hound and Leo, then when might we be actually seeing RC? It might actually be the end of the year or January.
Yeah, quite possible.
That's a bummer.
And I think we've now found a price point with Takara in that kind of £120 ballpark, which is what Hound was, and it looks like RC is going to be there or thereabouts.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't want to be happy to pay those kinds of prices, but it seems to have been the way things have gone recently. I think now it's less of a anger and more of just an acceptance of the fact that they're all just going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
But that's been going on since Megatron.
Yeah.
Or was Dinobot first? I forget.
Dinobot was first, Megatron was after. I mean, they were both horrifically expensive, but
yes.
A big part of it I've got is, the figures are really expensive, but it's more a case of being frightened of breaking them. Now, I don't really transform the figures a lot once I've got them. I think Greg's a bit like that as well. So it's not an issue for me, but I mean, transforming Beast Wars Dinobot was not fun. Transforming Beast Wars Megatron was not fun. Transforming Optimus Prime version 3 was not fun. So it's, there's more paint on them, but it's more about, I don't want to break this having spent 350 quid on it. So if they're a bit more robust, that would be a good thing. But wait and see.
Moving on to this weekend's news. So at the time of recording, but in the middle of New York Toy Fair, and there's been quite a few interesting reveals that caught my eye. So kind of sticking with the Transformers, there has been a stand there basically advertising War for Cybertron and the Earthrise. So the big announcement there was Scorponok. And that's already out for sale on lots of the UK sites. I'm sure many people have noticed. I'll get details on that one and see if I'll be selling it soon. But he looks great. He's a big old boy, but is he big enough? And the guy on the YouTube video that I was watching basically indicated that he's going to be 18 inches tall. So I know that the three of us have got mixed feelings on that, but I'm very disappointed because I want him to go toe-to-toe with my Fortress Maximus and Metroplex, and I want it at 2 feet. But Stu, you had a thought on that?
I think that sort of, I mean, there's been lots of discussion about online, but I think that's, in terms of toy scale, Scorponok sort of scales quite well with the Fortress Maximus that's out. So I'm okay with that. I'm sort of a little bit more, I've got the Fans Toys, Decepticon Headmasters and whatnot as well. So there's a slight chance he might fit in a Detolf possibly now in the back. So I'm a little bit more like, well, I don't want so many big Titans. I want sort of smaller figures. So that's just to me. I think he looks pretty good. He looks pretty solid. But yeah, no, I mean, I like him, but I can see I don't like his knees. His knees look pretty dodgy when he's sort of bent. But I can understand the sort of technology that's involved in making them as well. What about you, Simon?
I really like it. I'm sorry, you were saying, Greg?
I just wanted to clarify that point you made. So the point you're making was in the original G1, the original 1980s Fort Max was a quarter taller than the Scorponok, exactly. And that's the angle. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Simon, on you go.
No, it's fine. Yeah, no, I really like it. I think scale-wise, yeah, it is a bit small, but it's sort of comparable to most of the other Titan class figures. So the only two biggies are Fort Max and Metroplex, really. Most of the others are sort of considerably smaller. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, it got me thinking about the motivation behind it, and we've got the cartoon coming up on Netflix in the summer, and quite often the toys are there to kind of promote the TV show, or the other way around, actually, the TV show will be promoting the toys. But we don't know what's going to be in this series, and if you think back to the Prime trilogy, there was the Titans had Metroplex and Fortress Maximus fighting Vertical, and the toys all appeared. So I am predicting we're going to end up with a bit of a battle between possibly Omega Supreme and Scorponok in this current cartoon. And if you think that was last year's Titan and this year's Titan, they are going to go. We know in 2018 Scorponok pretty much understand on Omega Supreme and Steel, but that might not be how they want to pan it out this time.
I mean, how big is Omega? I didn't get the Siege Omega.
Omega's the same as Scorponok, pretty much.
Right. I mean,
I was just going to measure him, but I can't find my tape measure, so forget that.
None of this is confirmed, though. I'm just speculating based on what I'm kind of seeing on the YouTube videos. But I remember Omega came out and they advertised it as 2 feet, and I said right away it doesn't look 2 feet to me, and right enough, it wasn't, and they kind of had that measurement based on the rocket mode. So they were, yeah, bit of semantics there. But anyway, so they're basically putting out a whole new line of these kind of Earthrise War for Cybertron. There's loads and loads of released figures that have been like Fast Track, Run Amok, Smokescreen, RC, Alicon, Airwave, a Quint, Megatron, Snapdragon, Double Dealer. You know, they're gonna fly out. There's gonna be tons, and they look okay. You know, for anybody who wants to collect scale. Some of them, like Megatron in particular, looks like it's just the Siege one repackaged in with a slight different bit of paint. But RC, the Quint Judge, the Alicon, these are things we've not had before, and look good. Actually, I think I'm not sure if that Quint is actually a Cyberverse figure.
No,
rather than
it is a new Earthrise one as well.
Yeah.
Ones, they're quite close together though as well. So yeah, looks good though. Looks good. Apart from the base looks dodgy.
Yeah, it doesn't really need a base mode. I suppose it was purely because it has to transform.
It's just like he's sort of guarding a tiny box, tiny little box.
The other announcement came out was all on the studio series for the movies. Quite a lot of new characters, and interestingly, they've ranged them all the way back to the old movies, all the way up to Bumblebee. So they've announced Revenge of the Fallen Soundwave, which turns into a satellite by putting his arms behind his head, legs behind his head. Yoga Wave. But there's a couple of new ones, like the Blitzwing from the Bumblebee movie and the Cliff Jumper in particular. Both of them look pretty good. For
the price point are good. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, which means we'll probably see KO oversized ones coming out of Weijang and Black Mamba or whatever they want. So
we all know.
So it should be a good time for the fans.
KO oversized one we want, which is obviously Runabout and Run Amok. Obviously, they need to KO that pretty much now.
Now, immediately.
Yeah, come on.
And then the other big one, sorry, I forgot to mention, was Skylynx. He's like up there with the kind of Scorponok. What did you think of him? He's going to come in about £80.
Yeah, he'll be the same as his commander class, isn't he? So he'll be the same as Jetfire with chicken legs. Love those chicken legs.
Sponsored by NASA as well, isn't it? It's actually got the NASA logo on it as well.
Oh, nice.
Apparently, yeah. That's cool.
It's a cool looking figure. I really liked the Combiner Wars one, but like everything Combiner Wars, it was basically just to combine. There wasn't really anything more to it than that.
Okay. Final kind of news. I just want to get a touch on it for people that are interested in other things in Transformers. There were a bunch of Ghostbusters merchandise announced. So Kenner are reissuing the real Ghostbusters line from the old cartoons. That looks pretty good on the card. They're pretty cheap. They're also bringing out a new plasma series, which kind of reminds me of the Diamond Select Ghostbusters. And if you collect them all, you can actually build a terror dog. So you've got the 4 Ghostbusters, you've got Gozar, and you've got Dana in her possessed form. So they look okay. They look pretty good. You boys have picked them up, haven't you?
Yeah,
Yep.
You're looking forward to them. The other big announcements for me were the NECA Turtles. We've got the next kind of wave of those coming out. There's going to be a Krang android suit. There's going to be the little, what do they call the little fly? What do you call the fly?
Baxter
Stockman.
Yeah, well done, Simon. And beyond the kind of the original line, there's some new movie stuff coming out from the Turtles. There's a huge shredder coming out. There's a lot of good stuff being announced. And the final one I wanted to touch on was Wave 3 of the Super 7 Thundercats, including Jaeger, Chitara, Slide, and I wasn't quite sure who that one was. Who's the last one? Was it Cracker? The little robot.
Pirate guy. I don't remember him from the cartoon at all. No. I think he was only one episode or so. I can't remember. Nobody wants it.
I did they said he's called Cracker, I think. And for me, it's a bit of a money-making scheme to make you buy a whole wave and chuck in a character you didn't really want. But we'll work out cheaper by buying all 4, so we'll all buy them anyway. But that's pretty much it. You round up, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks,
that was
Greg.
Very informative.